E3 is a special time of year for me and for many of you classy people out there too, I'm sure. It's like if Christmas was all about video games, and designed primarily as a marketing tool by soulless corporations, but far more enjoyable than it sounds. I'm Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm counting down my 10 hypest games of E3 2016. Number 10. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Stumbling through a ruined old house with poor lighting and creepy mannequins and shit everywhere is not exactly what I would have expected if you told me that Resident Evil 7 would be showcased at E3. Truly, the effect of the Silent Hills playable teaser can be felt to this day, from the sheer atmospheric terror of the Resident Evil 7 Biohazard footage, to the fact that its own equally disturbing demo would be available almost immediately after the announcement. It's also just plain refreshing to see the RE franchise take a hard turn away from the action series that it had become, to explore a new, more tense style of game. Number 9. Titanfall 2. I loved the original Titanfall, despite its numerous shortcomings, such as its lack of customization and the non-existent single-player campaign. But judging by the E3 footage, Respawn Entertainment have certainly been listening to player feedback. The multiplayer footage immediately shows new gear and customizable Titans, on top of the fast-paced, high-mobility gameplay I grew to love about the first game. And then they showed a single-player trailer that featured a talking companion Titan, crazy alien wildlife, and the promise of some much-needed world building. Plus, that fastball special at the end is the sickest. Oh, and PS4 players can get in on this too, so that's pretty cool. Number 8. For Honor. I wasn't expecting For Honor to have a single-player mode, but boy am I pleasantly surprised to see that I was wrong. I sure as hell wasn't expecting there to be a weird justification for 3 playable factions to be inhabiting the same time and space as each other, but again, I was super wrong and I'm incredibly happy about it. It honestly looks like the History Channel version of Marvel's Secret Wars, with a bored deity forcing these unwitting armies to fight on and on for her amusement. The confirmation of a single-player mode makes me feel a whole lot better about the game as a complete package, and the gameplay looks just as impressive as it did when the game was revealed last year. Go Team Viking! Number 7. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Full disclosure, I've never been a big Legend of Zelda fan. I've played a bunch of different entries in the series, but never felt compelled to complete any of them. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild seems like the least Zelda game in the series to date, and it's the one that appeals to me the most as a result. The world looks huge, and its open nature seems to allow for plenty of choice when approaching situations. It's hard to know exactly what to expect from the game's final release, but what we've seen from E3 is certainly promising. If only it could have come along sooner to save the Wii U. Number 6. Days Gone. Days Gone was such a weird reveal. From a studio whose last project was the Vita Uncharted game, we get an almost Last of Us style narrative-driven game about a biker in the post-apocalypse. And then we find out it's an open-world zombie survival game. At this point, I know a lot of people tapped out because who needs another zombie game, right? But in Days Gone's defense, the sheer number of monstrous enemies chasing you down in the game's demo is both impressive and utterly terrifying, and there seems to be a big focus on environmental physics such as log traps and rickety wooden walkways. Days Gone will certainly be one to watch out for. Number 5. We Happy Few. We Happy Few is the most attention-grabbing indie game to show up at this year's E3 by far. Its setting is incredibly creepy, what with everyone and their mum popping happy pills to distract themselves from the dystopic world around them, and its gameplay is supposedly a weird, randomly generated experience that challenges you to escape from the authorities after refusing to take your medicine. How will a randomly generated world affect the game's ability to tell a story? I haven't got a clue, but I'm dying to try it for myself and soak in the game's unique aesthetic and unsettling atmosphere as soon as humanly possible. Number 4. Horizon Zero Dawn. Maybe the most impressive new IP from last E3 made another appearance this year and continued to impress, with multiple new robotic creatures, surprisingly vast combat options, and a sneak peek at a world map that's sure to keep me and many others busy for hours upon hours. In terms of narrative, the developer has been very secretive about the events that have led to Horizon's so-called post-apocalypse, and have raised even more questions regarding what the game's title means and why Horizon's protagonist, Aloy, is so special. I can't wait to dig deeper into this when it finally drops in 2017. Number 3. God of War. I, like many others, was kind of over the God of War series by the third mainline installment. A lot of what turned me off of the series was the main character Kratos, and the game's insistence that he was the hero, despite his stubborn rage causing literally everything bad in the world to happen. So when we saw Kratos in the E3 footage for the latest God of War, I couldn't help but be a bit disappointed. But as the gameplay continued, and we saw Kratos interact with his son, we saw more actual character development than we had in the 7 or so games that had come before. From interviews with the developer, it almost seems like Kratos recognizes that his rage is a huge issue and is working on learning to control his emotions. That, on its own, was enough to make me care about Kratos' story once again. Well, that and the hard left turn from Greek to Norse mythology. Number 2. Death Stranding. Kojima is back, and he's brought an E3 reveal with him. And what did he reveal exactly? It's honestly kinda hard to say. The teaser for Kojima's latest project, Death Stranding, features countless dead sea creatures, Norman Reedus, and a baby connected to him through a cybernetic umbilical cord. The teaser ends by panning out and showing 5 mysterious floating entities as Reedus stands on the beach butt naked, and I honestly have no idea what to make of it at all. But the project is in good hands, and Kojima says it's an action game, so yeah, I guess that's about it. Can't wait to see more, I suppose. Number 1. Crash Bandicoot Trilogy Remastered. It might seem like a cop-out for me to put a simple remaster at the top spot on my E3 list, but hear me out. Crash Bandicoot was one of the first video games I really enjoyed, and the series was a mainstay of my childhood right up until the later Activision published games. So to hear that such a huge part of my childhood was going to come back with a ground-up remaster leaves me ecstatic. Sure, this comes with the huge caveat of Crash becoming a PS4 exclusive Skylander in the process, but if this results in me getting a nice warm dose of nostalgia straight into my eyeballs, and potentially a new Crash game further down the line, a Crash Skylander is a small price to pay. I cannot wait to see this old friend again. So that's my list. What did you guys get hyped for? What didn't quite hit the mark? Let me know in the comments below, and game on.